All right. Nah, Justin, it's all good for the video. All right, guys. Well, after popular demand, everyone's asking about the Sorc build, so here's the video. Um, Pretty much breaks down to a couple key pieces for the build. To really start it, I wouldn't advise making the Sorc until you have a Jaw rune to make a dream. I say this because you get a ton of damage from Holy Shock as long as you max out Light Mastery. So as you can see there, having just the dream gives you roughly 1 to 16k of light damage. Um, Next, I think best in slot for High Lords. For the amulet is High Lords. A +2 High Lords would be great. I have an all res one. It's good because it gives the 1 to 300 lightning damage, which that 1 to 300 flat light damage also scales with the light mastery. So that's why you kind of do a fuck ton of light damage, with this build. The 20 IS also is crucial. That's why I kind of put this over Maros because of the IS and that flat light damage. The Deadly Strike is also really good. Best in slot armor is Chain of Honors. I don't really have to say much here. The +2 skills, because as you guys know, you need plus skills to have a higher multi shot. So if you don't have plus skills, you're gonna be shooting like fucking 5 arrows. It's gonna be a bullshit. You're gonna hate the build. So try to stack as much plus skills as you can. Moving to the bow, this is really the key part. Can't be a bow sorc without the Widowmaker. This gives you the multi shot, guided arrow. The best bow possible would be a +1 skill, 4 sockets, or even a 5 socket Widowmaker. That being said, the break points that you're trying to hit are either 60 or 104. So if you have a 4 socket, you get the 80 here. You get another 20 from the High Lords, and then you could get 10 on the Slam Mage Fist. So that's kind of how I hit my breakpoints. Um, Shit, my stream's kind of covering it, but yeah, that's how I hit mine. If you have a 5 socket one, you can throw in like a 15 IES with extra ED or whatever, or 15 IES, 15 -15 requirements, so you have less dex, which kind of opens up things for more life and stuff. I'm rocking War Travs, but the boots are really up to you. These are good for flat damage, MF. But if you have some sick tri-res, 30-10 FHR, something like that, you could throw those in too. For the rings, BK ring, I got pretty lucky. I got the extra life leech on the slam, and as I said, not much to be said here. +1 skill, extra life, and the leech is pretty nice too. For the belt, you could use a Rax, but I recommend Razor Tail because you get the 33 pierce. I got the ones with the extra pierce slam, so obviously the more pierce you have, the more DPS you're going to be doing. You are a bow build, so you kind of want your multi-shot to kind of go through the mobs. For the other ring, Raven Frost, you don't really need this if you could slam CBF on your boots. So if you get boots with CBF, you could toss in another BK ring or Saj, whatever floats your boat. But that's really the main reason why I'm rocking this. But the decks and all that shit's pretty nice too. Already went over the Matrix. Not much to be said here. +1 fire skill, FCR on your swap to Telly, and the extra IS. But if you're not hitting the max IS, you could get the extra Pierce, or you could just rock Mage Fist. It's up to you how you want to do the build. But that's it for my build in terms of gear. On swap, Lidless and the shoot is really just for the Telly. I have a mix of light and fire skillers. You could this is why it's fun. You can kind of balance out if you want to do more light damage, you want to do more fire damage. Basically, every GC at the high end, it's going to give you 1k damage. So whether it be fire, well, I already have the enchant on, but every extra fire GC is going to give you 1k fire. Every extra light GC is going to give you 1k light. So I found this balance to work really well in terms of all game mapping. Having the extra light skillers actually kills the fire immune mobs a lot easier. On top of Annie Torch, the rest of the charms are really just like life, res, all that jazz. For the Merc, you kind of need Infinity. It's best in slot. Um, for obvious reasons, Conviction, Crushing Blow, and just put on whatever the fuck you want to put on the Merc just to keep him alive. I rock Inferno Strides to give him the extra fire res. Shaft Stop works enough for the PDR. Talhelm, Laying of Hands, String of Ears. He seems to live fine. Uh, But yeah, it's pretty much it for the build. In terms of skills, as I mentioned, you max light mastery, obviously, because you're rocking the dream. If you don't have the dream, though, and you could actually play around and go like a dual cold and fire, so you could rock a Shaco instead for the extra plus skills, or even +2 Sorc helm, but Shaco's better because then you get the extra levels on the multi. But I recommend that you max the fire enchant just because it scales a little better than the cold. So you max warmth, which helps with the AR, your mana regen, all that stuff, which is also a synergy of enchant, and then fire mastery, of course. Put 1 point into telly, static, and then kind of the rest you could just sprinkle into the cold. But as a budget build, I started off with a fucking one, just plain Widowmaker out of Viper Magi. But I do recommend that you have the dream. But if you want to try a more physical bow Sorc where you're pretty much just a boson with telly, you could rock fucking Giant Skull or like a Gaze, throw in some EDIS jewels and stuff like that, which I have seen people do, and it works pretty well, given that you're still enchanting like probably 8k plus of fire damage on top of your physical. So if you go a more physical route, you can go Fort, Andy's Helm, something like that gives plus skills. Even like Steel Shade, and just throw in extra EDIS or max damage jewels. But make sure you don't commingle. So there's a bug where if it's ED and max, it's only going to factor in one of them. So just make sure you stick to one. But yeah, if you go that route, probably Giant Skull for the extra ED, and the knockback is pretty nice for survivability. Yeah, but it's like that's why this build is great. You can kind of tweak it however you want. You can go more cold, more light, more fire, more physical. But if you go physical, then you probably won't rock Infinity. You can go B stacked 5 Merc, to get that Might Fant. And then you'll be ripping at a higher IS breakpoint. So you don't really have to worry as much about IS, and then you could stack more ED or stack more light facets. You could toss in some light facets into the bow, which will scale really well with Dream. There's just so many different flavors of the build. Highly recommend. You guys check out my channel, BK Sauce, if you want to see some gameplay of it. But it pretty much shreds everything. Have fun, guys. All right, that's it for the video. If someone wants to clip that shit, I